Hello, friends. I actually heard from a Michigan podcast, which makes, you should beware what you hear from a Michigan podcast, that they were giving Urban Meyer credit for turning around Ohio State. And you're just not looking at history if you look at that. First of all, you know, first of all, looking at college football, I'm not really sure how you can really. Ohio State's been a national power for a long time. Actually, Ohio State's presence at the top of the food chain in college football, it's been pretty steady, longer than Alabama's has, longer than. Name the team. Clemson is recent, but Ohio State they were really good under Cooper, and the Cooper deal was he couldn't beat Michigan. But if Michigan wasn't on their schedule, Cooper's team, who knows how many national championships they would have won. That's why it's such a big deal for Ohio State to beat Michigan, is because they ruined, well, I'm not going to say they ruined, they did their job, but playing them, Ohio State's inability to beat Michigan cost them, quite a few national titles, and cost them at least one under Jim Cooper. So, they had some really good teams, but Jim Cooper couldn't beat Michigan. And they hired Jim Tressel. Now, guys, before you automatically go and you put Urban Meyer ahead of Tressel, first of all, Urban Meyer coached longer than Tressel. He is the one that turned around the Michigan game. And, okay, Jim Tressel, he lost embarrassingly to a Florida team. Now, at the time, we thought that Ohio State, should have beat them pretty good. But actually, if you go by the draft status and if you actually look at the talent on the team, I think it's fair to say Florida had a really stout defense. And, Troy Smith, although he won the Heisman, he really wasn't. Can you really say he was better than Chris Leak? I think Florida had the. That wasn't a mismatch. Actually, if it was a mismatch either way, Florida. No, I would say it was about even, and Ohio State went into the game overconfident, which it's the coach's fault to get the guys ready. It's also the team captains, but mainly the coach. So Tressel lost against Florida. Then Tressel got he. They should never have been in the championship game against LSU. That was a down year. LSU had 2 losses, and they were in the national championship game. They lost to. I forget who they lost to, but if you go by their record, you'll see that they lost not very good team. Ohio State was in there. Ohio State really wasn't that good that year. But in 2002, Ohio State beat Miami. And people were going to say, oh, that Miami game, that they beat Miami. It was I'll make a separate video on why that's a fair game. But Ohio State, that Miami team with Dorsey and McGahee, Gore on the bench, that might have been one of the most talented teams in the last 20 years, and Ohio State defeated them. So Tressel turned around Michigan. I have it on my phone right here. He has Jim Tressel. He had a 4-3 bowl record. 2 of those losses, as I already said, were to LSU and to Florida. But one of those wins was Miami, the best team in the decade. One of the best teams in the decade. He had a Big Ten Conference championship. Had 6 Big Ten championships. 6. A 5-4 bowl record. And 4-3 mark at BCS bowl games. That's pretty good, considering 2 of those were losses. So if you discount the LSU and the Florida National Championship games, and you just talk about BCS games, he was 3-1, and then of course going 1-2, for the championship's not very good, but he did beat one of the best teams ever. That 2002 Buckeye team was special. Jim Kressel, Craig Kretzel, and that just. I talked about the draft picks for Florida against Ohio State and how that was more even than it really was, than we thought. Well, the Miami against Ohio State was a lot more even than we thought too, with Gamble and Doss for Ohio State. But that was just an incredible game. So Urban Meyer comes, and Urban Meyer, how many championships does Urban Meyer give the Ohio State Buckeyes? One. He gave us one. That was 2014-2015 season. And you know what? If Barrett would not have gotten hurt that season, I don't think they would have won the championship. I don't think they would have gotten to the championship because they had to blow out Wisconsin to beat out TCU to get there. Friends, this is Urban Meyer. He had an incredibly loyalty to JT Barrett. And JT Barrett was a good player, but he wasn't an excellent player. And Urban Meyer treated JT Barrett like he was better than Tim Tebow. And if you're an Ohio State fan and you're watching the games, so many of the games were Barrett left, Barrett right, Barrett left, Barrett right. And it was a blessing in disguise for that team that actually 12 gauge, heck, I forget his name, the third string quarterback for the team. That's embarrassing. But Cordell Stewart. No, not Cordell Stewart. Here's Cardale, not Cordell Stewart, not for the Steelers. That Cardale actually came, and because without Cardale, they probably wouldn't have. They wouldn't have beat Alabama. They wouldn't have defeated Wisconsin in such a big. It was. But anyway, Urban Meyer, he was good. I think Urban Meyer's problem is that there would always be some team. They had the best team several seasons, but they lost at Purdue, on the road at Purdue. They lost on the road at Iowa. I mean, those two games they got walloped. There would always be a game that his team just wasn't prepared to play. For the big games, they were prepared. Tressel took every game serious. Almost every game, he rarely lost the teams that he was really a lot better than, but he had trouble when the talent gap was a lot closer. Those were the games that sometimes if he couldn't keep it close, he was in trouble. If it got out of hand, he couldn't come back. So judging Urban Meyer compared to Tressel, Urban Meyer's got the better record, but I think Tressel played the harder teams, and you can't say that Urban Meyer lifted Ohio State. Ohio State's always been there. They were there with Cooper. They didn't win a title with Cooper, but they were there with Cooper. They would have won several titles if they had beat Michigan. And then you have Jim Tressel, who actually makes it to 3 national championship games, winning 1. And then you have Urban Meyer, who only goes to 1 championship game. He goes to 3 tournaments. No, he goes to 2 tournaments, and he wins 1. So where's the big level difference from Urban Meyer to Tressel? He has more regular season wins, but do you see my point? Tressel's the guy getting overlooked, and Cooper, although Cooper, I don't want to give him too much love because he didn't beat Michigan, but we're not really looking at this historically. That 2002 season win against Miami, that was the best thing in the program for a long time. Now, it was awesome beating an SEC team in Alabama because that was the cream of the crop in the SEC, and the score was a lot closer than what that game was. Ohio State pushed Alabama around. But I guess I just don't see the big difference. This is the one area that Urban has done a lot better than Tressel with. Well, probably the 2 areas is he's had better assistant coaches, although Tressel had good assistant coaches too. Urban raised the bar a little bit, and Urban had a lot better recruiting than Tressel. Of course, Tressel had, prior, and Tressel, recruited Maurice Clarett. So, I mean, he had some of the top guys. It's not like he couldn't recruit. But, just recruiting with Urban Meyer, you could always know that you were going to be like in the top 5. Not so with Tressel. But anyway, thank you guys. Have a good day.